Why would your kids believe you when you lie to them all the time? Why do you expect them to listen to you when you say one thing and do something different? How many times have you told your kids to follow their dreams or try something new or be creative, only to find that your own creative dreams are sitting quietly on the sidelines? Now, if that hits home, Mama, you're not alone. And today we're going to talk about why that happens, what it means to you and your family, and how to start that bridge and gap it. Bridging that gap and starting now. Okay? So, we're great at encouraging our kids with everything to explore, create, be themselves. But then sometimes, without even realizing it, we send them a completely different message by how we ourselves show up. So the kids are watching. I mean, if you already know this, kids are watching from a young age. They're always watching what you do, what you say, how you act, and they imitate everything, the good and the bad. So why are you surprised when they pay attention to whether you create or not? Why are you surprised when they all of a sudden don't want to try or keep on trying something that's hard for them that they want to learn how to do, or something that they enjoy, but they're having a hard time getting it down? Why are you surprised when they start dragging their feet? Why are you surprised when all of a sudden something that they used to love to do, they don't do it anymore? Yeah, there's some reasons, of course, that they've outgrown it or they want to try something different. Well, that's all normal. But what if something that keeps on coming back to them, but every time you say, "Oh, why don't you try it? Why don't you create it?" or whatever, but they look at you and they're like, I don't feel like it, or I'm not good at it. Well, what do you do when it's your turn? What do you do when you're faced with your own creative stirrings? What do you do when it's something you want to learn, but all of a sudden you don't know how to get past A? Do you say, "Oh, I'm going to stop this because I can't do it anymore"? "Oh, I'm going to stop this because I don't know how to do it," or "I'm going to put it to the side until I can figure out how to do it"? Well, if they see you treat your creativity that way, that's how they're going to treat theirs. Is that what you want them to do? We then send them mixed signals. Be creative versus "I don't have time for that," or "I'm too tired." So that's one thing I struggle with too sometimes. It's like I want to be creative, but it's like, oh, there's all these other things that I put in the way to stop me from doing it, to stop me from creating that piece that I wanted to create, or do that painting that I wanted to do. How many times do we send that to our kids? How many times do we even reinforce it in their own lives? Like say, "Oh, okay, I want you to learn to do your creative play. Okay, that's something that you love to do. Go ahead and do it. Oh yeah, here you can use this table as part of it." And then as you're starting to do it, you're like, "Hey, you can't do it right now because we need to do this and that," or "You can't do this right now because I need you to come over here and do this," or "I don't want you to do this right now because it's going to be too noisy." I get it. We have things that go on. We have schedules that we need to keep to, or quiet times and all that. But instead of saying that, why don't you tell your child, "Okay, I know you love to do this, so why don't we set a time for you to do it?" I mean, come on. We set time aside for everything else. Well, almost everything else. We don't do it for ourselves. But why not just do it the same way? And as we are doing that to them, do it for ourselves so that we're not sending mixed signals. Well, I want you to be creative. Yay, go you. And then you can't do it. That defeats the purpose. So then they're not going to want to do it anymore because it's going to be inconvenient not only to themselves, but to you. How about fear and doubts? That can silently, when we are doubtful or fearful, that can silently teach our kids to put their dreams on hold. Like if I'm afraid to do something and it's something that that doesn't make sense to be afraid. Well, that's not true. Let me rephrase it. If I'm afraid to do something because I'm afraid I will fail, okay? Or I'm afraid that I wouldn't be good at it, or I'm afraid that I wouldn't do it the right way. That's stopping me. Now, because that stopped me, then our kids are going to be looking at that and be like, oh, if something is hard, I should not follow through with it. If something is going to be uncomfortable, something that I want to do is going to be uncomfortable, or it's going to take a long time to learn. Come on. It's not like we can learn everything in 1 minute. If it's going to take a long time to learn, then it's not worth learning. But that's not what we want to teach our kids. In life, I mean, come on, you know it, Mama. Everything around us, it takes time. They may not take the same amount of time, but it takes time to go from A to Z. So why can't our creative talents, our creative interests, our interests go from A to Z? Why do we have to expect it to go from A to A and be done? Or A to B and be done? It's not that fast. So here's an example. With trying to encourage my son to follow through, I had to also catch myself. Now, he loves drawing, okay? And for the longest time, he would just draw, but then he would be shy about drawing because he's like, oh, I don't really know how to draw. I'm not really good at it. I'm not good at drawing myself. And so I would try and encourage him to keep on drawing. And I would get some pushback and so on and so forth. So not too long ago, he was drawing, right? And so he would, don't get me wrong, he would still draw, but it would just more of like quick drawings and be like, oh yeah, I just did that just to represent so and such and such. But not too long ago, he was drawing something. I can't remember what it was, but he was drawing something. And I was like, whoa, that is so good. He was like, yeah, I'm better at it. And it was like so encouraging because I didn't force him to keep at the drawing, but I encouraged him. I told him that if he wants to get better at it, then he just needs to keep trying it and keep on doing it. Now, what about me with sourdough bread? Now, I have yet to bake a good loaf of sourdough bread, okay? I keep shortchanging myself because I either rush it or I want it to be perfect, so I'm trying to do these nitpicky things to make it perfect, or I forget steps, or impatience, trying to see if I can make it go faster, and just trying to get to the end faster. So that's something that I need to work on. And I was telling him the other day, like a few weeks ago, when I had made a loaf of some sourdough bread, and how I am slowly getting to where I'm learning by my mistakes. Okay, so the loaf that I made, it came out well. It was still dense, but that was because I rushed it, right? I didn't let it proof. Or I did, because sometimes some instructions you get are like they're suggested times. And so I took it as gospel. and put it in, like baked it, but I should have waited until it actually like doubled or whatever the instructions were. So anyway, I was telling him that I cannot stop, that I need to keep on practicing so that I can at least make a perfect sourdough loaf of bread. So that's one thing that I have made a point of. I'm going to keep on making sourdough bread until I get it. I even have my starters in the fridge, and it keeps looking at me, and I keep looking at it, keep looking back at it. So I should probably get on that. But I mean, come on, Mama. So what? Look back in your life. Look back in your day to day. What messages are you sending to your kids about creativity? What message you want them to get? And what message are they getting instead? Okay? After you've identified that, what are ways that you can change that? What are ways that you can flip that message? Just think about that. Something else. Do you model the creative risk-taking you want them to embrace? Do you want them to do as you say and not as you do? Or do you want them to do as you say as you do? It's in your hands, Mama. What's the legacy you want to leave them with? When things get tough, keep on trying. When you don't know how to do something, research, find somebody who knows who can help you with it. Or do you want the legacy that you leave them to be, if something gets tough, stop it. If I don't know how to do something, that's okay. I don't have to do it. I mean, that's up to you. That's in your hands. Now, just remember that what you want them to do, the legacy you want them to get, also has to be something that you are actively doing. Okay. Now, this is where it gets real and vulnerable. Okay. Fear and perfection. These often keep us from being creative. And they keep us from being the best that we can be, or even actively pursuing our creativity. And self-sacrifice, well, that's a whole another story. That's a whole nother story. But with fear of failure, which is a big one in the fear category, fear of failure is like you tell yourself, you ask yourself, what if I'm bad at it? What if they laugh? What if nobody likes it? Well, who are you creating for in the first place? So think about that first. Are you creating for your joy? Are you creating because you want to create it? Are you creating for yourself? Why are you creating it? That should be your first question. And then once you answer that, that should hopefully help you get past the fear of failure. Because if I'm making something for myself, I don't care, well, unless it comes to the perfection, being the perfectionist angle. But once I realize, once you realize that you're creating something for yourself, it takes that aspect of fear out of the equation. Because when you make something for yourself, you don't care if it's perfect. You don't care if somebody else is going to like it. You don't even care if you did it completely right. Yeah, to some extent you would, but that's not the major factor. What you care about is that you did it. You learned something new. You finished it. Of course, that you started it. Come on. So that's one thing that kind of sidetracks us as we're trying to tap into that creative self, our creative self. because we start thinking more about what others will think and say and do that stops what we say, do, and think. Since when do we give them permission to stop us from being creative? Just think about that. Now, perfectionism, this is something that I struggle with a lot. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, because I am not, I was going to say I'm not unique, but we are each unique. But perfectionism, waiting until it's right, just means that you're never going to start it, because nothing is ever perfect. It's never always the right time for something. Many times, in fact, for some things, you find that when you feel it's the wrong time, or when you're in a place where it doesn't feel like it's the right time, is when you start doing it, or you start moving it, you start expressing it, right? You start planning for it. How about self-sacrifice? Now, this is an old story of I have to put everybody first. But that squashes creativity, because when we put ourselves last, I'm not saying be selfish and do only what you want to do. But when we put ourselves last and we go under the umbrella of self-sacrifice, oh, I'm doing it for the good of my family because I need to give them all my time. I need to give them every ounce of my energy, every thought in my head, so on and so forth. That can be a source of frustration. Frustrations can start to build. Resentment, that's a big one. You start resenting your family, or you start resenting what you put your creativity aside for. Not because you don't like them anymore, not because you don't like your family anymore, or you don't want to be with your family, you don't want to do your family stuff with your family, but because you are tapping down, you are extinguishing a part of yourself, a part of your innermost workings, a part of who you are, a part of who God made you, for something else. Right? And when you start taking a part of who you are and discarding it, putting it to the side and saying that it doesn't matter or it's not important enough, then you're no longer whole. And because of that, something is missing. And what can fill its place? You have resentment. You have anger. You're not as patient as you should be. You have a negative mindset all the time. You're angry all the time. You lose your temper really fast. So on and so forth. So I want you to start thinking about why you let those things hinder you from chasing your creativity, hinder you from even planning out your creativity. Because you don't need to have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You can even use it with 2 minutes. You can say, oh, okay, today I have 2 minutes right here. I'm going to take my phone and leave a voice note. Or I have 2 minutes right here. I'm going to pick up this notebook that I have on the side and just jot down an idea, a thought. It's as easy as that. So why don't we do that? Why do we let other things distract us from even using that extra minute we have between laundry and cooking, between cleaning and gardening? I don't know. You tell me. So I have been working on something, okay? And it's funny because when I'm talking about perfectionism and it hindering you, it's stopping you from being creative, I I had this idea for a membership, right? And it's been years, like years. I want to say maybe 2, 3 years since that idea came to mind. And I was excited about it, right? And I was thinking about, okay, what kind of membership would I have, like a subscription kind of thing? What would I want to do? And I started doing research. But then here's the thing. Once you start doing research many times, if you are like me, you can go down these rabbit holes, okay? I need to know this. Now that I know this, oh, wait, I need to know this. And because I know this, then it makes sense for me to know this. And so I keep on going down that rabbit hole and trying to learn how to do something and what I wanted to do, what aspects I needed to start with first, and all the nitty-gritty details. But guess what? I never started it. It was just an idea that went into some research, and then it stopped. Why? Because I started second guessing myself. Because I started thinking, well, I can't have everything on this big list to make it a great membership. So I may as well wait until I can. And that's where I am today. Okay. So the other day, I was like looking through my emails, and I'm seeing this email, and I'm like, oh, wait, I've been wanting to do memberships for a while, and with my business. And I was like, okay, I have to do it. I don't have the correct systems in place. I can't get that right now, and so on and so forth. So all these thoughts are coming into my head, and I'm like, no, stop it. It's going to be 10 years before you even do it at this rate. And so guess what? I am working on it. I'm excited, and I'm working on it. Is it perfect? No. Do I want it to be perfect? Of course I do. But am I doing it? Yeah. Have I started creating it? I have, and I'm so excited. You know, it's the difference between starting imperfectly messy versus not starting at all. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be with your list, with all your ideas, with all your motivation into research? Or do you want to be, okay, I have an idea, or I have ideas, I need to narrow them down. I've done some research, not a whole lot, but I have a starting point. I can start. Which camp do you want to be in? Ask yourself. So here's some practical steps to get you moving, okay? How do you lean into imperfectionism? Well, like I said, create messy. Start messy. Have all those messy moments with zero expectations. Because guess what? If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. Yes, you spent time to do it. Hopefully not money to do it, but if you did, hopefully not a lot. You spent your energy doing it. But if it doesn't work out, guess what? At least you started it, and you found out how not to do it next time when you redo it, right? So it's no loss, as opposed to not starting at all because you want it to be perfect. So now you don't even know what mistakes you would have made. You don't even know how you'd prefer to do it. You don't know all these other details that you found out because you did something imperfectly, because you did something messy, right? How about reframing self-sacrifice? Instead of saying, I gave this up for the goodness of my family, I give this up for the goodness of other people. Why don't you just reframe it and say, well, creativity fuels my ability to give better, not worse. Creativity makes me joyful, gives me peace, fulfills a part of me that I've been needing, gives me a bigger, wider purpose, helps me encourage other people. And because of all that, because I am being fulfilled in that way, then I can be a better mom. I can be a better wife. I can be a better family member. Here's a third tip. Small wins. I want you to start celebrating any creative effort, any creative act, no matter how tiny, even if it's taking that 1 minute and putting a note down saying, I want to paint. Celebrate that because you are further along than you were before, right? Yeah. So now you're probably asking, so what should I do? What should we do? We should model the behavior that we want our kids to have. We should model. Then you're going to be asking me, well, Christine, yeah, you say model. You give me all these tips. You talk about all this. But how do I do it? Well, modeling creativity doesn't mean launching a side hustle. It doesn't even mean having a perfect Instagram feed. It's about showing your kids that creative living is messy, it's real, and it's worth doing. Showing them that putting their heart in being creative, by you putting your own heart into your creative interests, is worth it no matter what. And so I want you to be present in your creative moments, no matter how small. Okay? I also want you to invite your kids to join in with no pressure, just togetherness. Don't expect them to be as talented as you are, whether you're talented or not. Don't expect them to do it the way you would do it. I mean, like if you're painting a picture or coloring a picture and you start from the top or bottom, if your child wants to start in the middle or in the corner first, let them. What's important? The more important thing is that you are together. You are creating together. You are doing something together. They're seeing mama be creative and you're seeing mama take the time to be creative with them. And show your joy in the process, not just the product. Don't say, oh, I made this. Look what I made. Look what mommy made. No. Walk through it with them. Like what I did when I was creating this, I showed my son in Canva. I showed it to him, like the design. And I did get his feedback and my husband's feedback because I had questions and whatnot. And then I printed it out and I showed it to him in the sublimation. So I showed the printout to him, which kind of looks dull because I was like, oh yeah, it's okay. It looks dull, but once you put it on the tumbler, it will look good. It will be perfect. Well, not perfect, but it will look good. And then I put it on the tumbler. I wrapped it and I showed it to him. And then when I put it in the press and took it out, so he kept on coming back to check up on the progress. I mean, hey, I hooked him, right? He kept on coming back to check up on the progress. And when I had it out, he wanted to take the paper off. And I was like, wait, we have to wait for it to cool. And I was explaining why he had to let it cool. So you don't have any ghosting. And of course, it's hot. You don't want to burn yourself, blah, blah, blah. And so we waited. We heard the paper crackling as it's cooling down, some of the tape popping off. You could hear that. And I started to peel the paper off the tumbler. And I just got off some of the pieces and I let him take it all out. So he not only was it there for me when I was happy about the results, but he was there from the beginning to the end. He may not have been sitting in the same room with me the whole time, but he was popping in and out, or I was calling him for each stage of the process. So why don't you do that? Show the joy of the process. Share the joy of the process with your kids. They're going to love that. Well, it depends on what it is. But at least if you're showing them, then they're seeing, oh, okay. And one other thing too. This is a big one. Since you want them to model what you are doing, as you're showing them and sharing the joy of the whole process of your creative interest, do the same to them. Okay? And yes, I know we don't have time, and I know sometimes it can be a long drawn process with our kids, but do the same to them. Be respectful of their creative process. Be respectful of their creative interest. And if they want you to see something that they're working on, yeah, take a break or tell them, oh, can I come in a minute? I mean, just be honest with them and say, I would love to see it. There's some times where I've had my son, if I can't go at the moment, I have him either take a picture or take a video of it and send it to me. But as you want them to do to you, you do to them. And this is a big one. This last tip is having them see your creative struggles and failures, sharing those things openly, because you don't want them to be where they think that being creative is all good. I mean, it's all easy when you get to a certain level, or mommy is creative and well, mommy does everything is easy. She does it so well. Well, I'm struggling over here. No. Share with them. Share the good and the bad with them. Tell them that, oh, this did not come out well. So like, for example, with this tumbler had a different image on it, and it was awful. And I showed it. I was like, I did not like this. I even had him look at it because I did a different tumbler with the same design. And he compared the two and he was like, yeah. So I had to redo this. Now, if I had not told him, he would have just thought that this one was made because I wanted to make it. Yes, I wanted to make this design. It's not a perfect design. But he would not have realized that I also did it to cover up what used to be there. Because yeah, I did the process where you take all the ink off and stuff, but you can still see some stuff. Even now, you can see some stuff at the bottom. And I love it because it shows this was not it was a failure, but look what came out of a failure. I was able to make this. So share all those things openly with your kids when you're seeing the creative process, so that when they're in that spot, when they're also having those moments of failure, having those moments of struggle, they know it's normal. And it'll be easier for them to, kind of easier for them to get past it or to go through the struggle, to recover faster from the failure. So, and if your kids want you to participate in their creativity, do it. Okay? So that's one thing too. It's like many times we invite our kids to do stuff that we want to do, but when it's time for them when they want us to do their stuff, many times, legitimately, we may have stuff to do, but many times we're like, oh, can it wait? Or I don't have time today. Can you do it another day? Or I don't feel like doing it. And that is a slippery slope, because your kids can start to feel like their creativity is not as important as mommy's creativity, or their interests are not as important as mommy's interests. So just want to share one other thing. My son, he loves, he has varied interests, but he loves action figures. He would design, or he will repaint the action figures based on his mood or based on the storyline that he's going for, or whatever he wants, right? And so he was having trouble with doing different elements of it, and he wanted me to help him out. And so yesterday, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, anyway, we were struggling to come up with the correct shade of the action figure's skin tone, because he was trying to redo the face, because it had the action figure had gloves on, I think, and boots and all that. So the face was the one that was exposed, and he also wanted to do hair. Now, mind you, the action figure, the head that he was using, the extra heads that you get with action figures, was bald. And so we had to first get the correct tone, the skin tone, right? He wanted it to match his skin tone. And so here we are mixing. So he had his container, he was mixing his paint. Had my container, I was mixing my paint. And so we were comparing back and forth. And his was successful. His mixing was spot on. Mine was close, but he got his faster, and it was fun. Just we're doing swirling paint and adding this color, adding that color, and ooh, it's too much, and adjusting it. And then it came to the hair, and so I was like, well, how do we do the hair? He wanted the hair to be like where the guy had. Now, mind you, it's bald. He wanted it where he wanted like curls in the hair, and for it to be kind of curly. I was like, okay. So we had aluminum foil, and we're like scrunching it together, putting it up on the head, shaping it, and then making another piece so that it kind of has like bumps, so like has curls, like afro curls kind of type of thing. And so then with the hot glue gun, you're trying to put it on and make it stick. And do you know that hot glue, at least with his hot glue gun, the glue cools so fast on aluminum foil. I like kept on peeling it out and putting it in. So it came to a point where I would put the hot glue on the head and quickly put the foil on. But we went through that whole process and put the foil on and then put hot glue on top. And then you should see me doing each like tiny bumps for the curls. So that was finished, right? So y'all do it, and I should give it to him for inspection. Oh no, Mama did it wrong. Mama did it the wrong way. He wanted where you would tell that he had curls, but it wasn't like bumpy. It was kind of like almost like waves. I was like, why did you tell me in the first place? And I had asked him for a picture. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, we went through that whole thing with working on his stuff together, and that was fun. So mamas, don't discount. So we did get the hair right. He left the hair. He painted it and all that. So, and it's funny because I was looking at some of his other action figures, because he put the head on one of the figures, and I was looking at it and I was like, ooh, the hair in my head. I was like, the hair looks really good, and like he looks really well put together with the skin tone and the color. And he was like, oh, that's the one we did. I was like, oh, wow, we did a good job. We worked together really well. So don't discount your kids' interests, especially if it's something that you can come alongside and do it with them. You don't have to be perfect. Might they expect you to be perfect? Yeah, because we expect the same thing many times, but they're still learning. But the important thing for them is that you are reinforcing their the part of their creative life that they're enjoying at the moment. You are reinforcing the fact that it's okay to be messy. It's okay to learn as you go along. You're reinforcing the fact that they can share their creativity with somebody else, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And you're reinforcing the fact that, yeah, like in the case of my story, it didn't work out really well the first time. But they're seeing you struggling, or they're seeing you keep on going on to do it so that it's as best as it can be at the moment. So don't discount your example and your kids' needs. Okay? So now to close this out, let's shift. Let's do a truth shift, okay? Let's shift and make everything about creativity, or how we teach our kids about creativity. Let's shift it to some truths. Let's put some truths to it, okay? I want you to realize that creativity is not selfish. That way we can also teach our kids that creativity isn't selfish. And that we wanted to be a part of a legacy that we leave for our families and for them to leave to their families. Okay? So that's a truth that I want you to keep close. That creativity is not selfish. It's something that should be guarded, something that should be encouraged. It's something that should be done. And because of that, our kids and their kids and so on and so forth are going to be seeing that, are going to be reaping the benefits of it. Okay? So how are you going to do that? You're going to model creativity by showing your kids what it means to live fully. Okay? As a creative mom. No matter what your creativity is, whether they can participate in it or not, I want you to live in such a way that they see you're doing it. They see you being creative. If it's something that they cannot do and you want them to participate, encourage them to participate, just ask for their feedback, right? If it's something that they don't understand, try and see if you can explain it to them, or even show the end results. Like if you design buildings, if you're into architecture and stuff like that, you're like, well, this is mommy's interest, and we do this and that, and this is what a building can look like. This is how it starts off. So it's like you're widening their horizons, because it's not an interest that they may have themselves, but if they see you with your interests and they're coming alongside you in your journey, you're widening the horizon. You're exposing them to more things than they would normally have been exposed to. You also want to teach them that creative habits teach resilience and problem-solving skills and joy. Because as you keep on creating, many times you have to wait within stages. In the case of painting, if you're doing a layered painting, for example, you have to wait for each layer to be ready before you can move on to the next step. If you're writing a story, maybe you want to do it with an outline. But you can't write chapter 12 without knowing what the characters are, without knowing even what chapter 1 is. Or you can't cook a meal without having all the ingredients. I can't put a whole onion and saute that. I need to cut it out to cut it up. So learning that there are stages to creativity, and learning that we need patience to go through creative processes. That's something that we need to teach our kids, and we need to demonstrate that. Problem solving. Hey, just because you know something doesn't mean you know everything about it. And just because you know something doesn't mean it cannot be enriched by adding more to it. And just because you know something doesn't mean that you're not going to have any problems. So with that in mind, you're already in a position where you're open to problem solving. Have your kids learn that too. Have them research something. If it's their interest, have them look into how they can do it different ways, how they can solve a problem. If something happens, if something goes wrong, after they've calmed down, of course, walk through them and be like, okay, what can we do to make it better? Or what can we do so that it doesn't happen again? Or what can we do to adapt the mistake and have it as part of the design or part of what we're making, right? And then we also want them to learn that creativity is joy, that we should be creative. We should be joyful. Or I should say, maybe I should better say this, that we will be joyful as a result of being creative. Because we're doing something we love, we're doing something of interest, right? And so you're automatically happy to some extent. But joy within, you're happy, right? And your creative gifts are part of who you are, and they're worth sharing. You don't have to post it on social media if you don't want to. But show somebody else, because as you create, you're filled with joy, you're filled with peace. And we automatically want to share our peace, our joy with somebody else. We want to share what we have accomplished, not to brag, but it's because we're excited about something that we did. We're excited about something that we're in the process of doing, and we want to share that. And yes, you are going to find people that are not going to be receptive. Now that's hard. I want you to understand that it's not because of you, it's mostly because of them, okay? And we're not going to get into all of that, but just take heart. If you share with somebody who's not receptive to learning more about you or learning about what you're doing or encouraging you in your journey, move on. Say hi, be cordial to them, relate to them, but you don't need to share with them. Find a community. That's the best thing. Find a community of like-minded people that want to explore their creativity, who are encouraging others to explore their creativity. Shameless plug-in for my membership. But, whether it's my membership or not, find somebody who understands you or who is supportive. Like, for example, with my sisters, I share everything with them. I'm sure they're tired by now. Well, they wouldn't tell me if they are. But I share my thought processes with them, what I have done, what I am thinking of doing, whether they understand what I'm doing or not, or why I'm doing what I'm doing or not. They are there. I know that they will be there to listen to me. They will be there to give me feedback. They will be there to just be there to listen. So it's important for you to find somebody that you can share it with, because it's worth sharing. And you never know. Sometimes when you share something, you never know if you're going to be encouraging somebody else. Not just in becoming creative, but encouraging them in their life. Encouraging them in something that's going on privately. Okay? Then you have the ripple effect of creativity. So this is where you reach places that you normally wouldn't. Or they wouldn't see your stuff. Or you wouldn't even see how it's affecting you. So keep on being creative, because you never know what effects you have for your environment or what effects you have with people around you just because you were creative. Like, for example, I enjoy doing stuff. It makes me happy. It makes me smile. It gives me a positive mindset. I go out to the store. I say hi to somebody or I smile to somebody, and that person is like, oh, that person's happy. So they smile back, and because they smiled back, they're happy. Because they smile, they're happy. So they see the next person and they smile. You never know. You never know what your effect is if you do not start with your creativity. So go ahead and start it. So now I want you to journal. Yeah, this is packed. So I want you to journal. Okay, hold on a second.
So they're asking which.
Okay, so here are some journaling prompts that I want you to take note of. What creative gifts do you want to leave for your kids? Okay, it's not necessarily what you're making for them, but what about creativity? What positive thing about creativity, or what elements of creativity do you want to leave for your kids? Do you want your kids to see? Okay? How can you start living an example of creativity today, even in small ways? How can you be that example that you want your kids to see? How can you be that example that your kids need you to be today, even in small ways? Just think about it. Take a moment, write it out, and meditate on it. Okay? if you want any help, or if you want help in taking any small, doable steps towards modeling creativity without the pressure of perfection, if you want to get into the habit of being creative, I wrote a book, Build Creative Habits. Now, this is designed for you if you wanted to get back into creativity. And it's going to take you step by step on how to start building that part of your life back, okay? To help you find rhythm, to help you find your creative voice, and to encourage you to start showing up for yourself and for your family. Anyway, mamas, thank you for tuning in today. Now, I want you to remember that creativity is like a living journal, okay? And it's not about a destination. It's about your journey. It's about you expressing yourself and putting down what you feel, what you think through your interests. Okay? So I want you to share any messy moments that you have. You can tag me on Instagram. You can join our Facebook community. And if you have any questions, just reach down and ask me, or put in the comment or reach out to me and ask me, okay? So bye for now.